Is this a get Trump at all cost type thing? And what does this do, in your opinion, to our justice system and the faith Americans have in it moving forward?
Yeah,
No.
this is a get Trump at all costs effort. Of course it is. How ironic that this same judge, Judge Merchan, presided over every possible Trump case or Trump related case in the city of New York. What are the odds of that, Graham? It's impossible.
Astronomical, it
Right.
would
You know
seem.
what?
Yeah.
The goal at hand is to get the number one judge who you know is going to be biased against Donald Trump, whose daughter makes money off of this trial every day and makes even more money
Mm.
if Donald Trump is convicted. This case has to be taken so seriously because this really is about the future of our country.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, a lady who needs no introduction, a good friend to us at Dear America, and a good friend to America in general, a warrior, a fighter, the none other than Miss Laura Trump. Laura, are you there?
I'm
There she
there. I'm
is.
here.
Hey. All
Wow.
right.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome, welcome. All right, the show's updated a lot since the last time you were on here, and so yeah, good times. But unfortunately, not good times for our country. I want to talk
Yeah.
about the amazing work you're doing at the RNC. You're absolutely kicking butt, taking names, cleaning stuff up. I love it. There's my little thumbs up icon that pops up. Stupid thing. Either way, but we have to talk about the insane injustice that is going on against your father-in-law, also known as President Trump to the rest of us. The judge gave instructions today to the jury that, and I've never heard this before. Now, I'm not a lawyer,
Neither have
but it seems like they're going to try their best to guilty President Trump at all cost, whether that's following the law or not. And I think we can all agree that the law is not being followed here. First of all, before we talk about all of that, how are you and the family doing? How's Eric? How's Don Jr.? How are you? I mean, how's the Trump family doing right now?
Well, thank you for asking. It's kind of crazy, Graham, because in so many ways, we've all been prepared for this time by the Democrats because since the day that my father in law came down the escalator in 2015 in Trump Tower and announced he was running for president, I mean, it's really been like an onslaught and not just against him. He actually sat all of us down before the day 2 days before he announced he was running for president in 2015 and said, look, if I do the job that is necessary, if we're able to actually do this, they're going to come after not just me but all of us, and they really have done that.
Wow.
Obviously it doesn't feel good to see someone you care about, a family member, go through something like this, but I'll tell you something about my father-in-law is that he is, I truly believe, was made for such a time as this. I don't believe that any other person could take the things that he has and not just remain standing, Graham, but still be fighting. And that's the miraculous thing about this man. I've been in court with him several times now. I was all day yesterday in court for the closing arguments with him. And despite the gravity of what's going on, and despite the fact that it is targeted solely at him, based on the fact that the Democrats are floundering, their candidate is terrible, and this is very clearly this Marxist communist tactic utilized by the Democrats to take down Joe Biden's number one political opponent, Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He still has a great attitude.
Yeah.
He's still very positive, and he still understands the task at hand. Yeah, this is a bump in the road for sure for him and for the country, but that doesn't mean he's going to back down or stop fighting or continue on his mission to become the 47th president of the United States and save this country for us. He gets it, and because of that, we all get it, and we all feel that. And so it's a crazy time, and who would have ever thought you would find us in America in a time like we are right now, seeing these things happen, but we're here and we're ready to face it, and we're there alongside of him every step of the way as a family, just like the first day he announced he was running for president.
Yeah, well, we stand
Great.
behind the
Yeah.
president here, absolutely, and we stand behind the Trump family 100%. I want to talk to you about the judge just made his closing instructions to the jury. And again, I don't think that I've ever heard this before, where the judge pretty much said, oh, you don't have to unanimously agree anymore on this. You can literally just decide, well, this or that or this. And they reported on this morning, the vote could literally go 4-4-4. and this judge is going to consider that unanimous. Is this a get Trump at all cost type thing? And what does this do, in your opinion, to our justice system and the faith Americans have in it moving forward?
Well, I mean, this is a stain on our country, period. End of story. No matter what happens, no matter the outcome of this case, the fact that you're here right now where you see a former president and the front runner, by the way, to
Yeah.
become president again,
Mhm.
being forced to sit in a courtroom in downtown Manhattan for 6 weeks, Graham.
Yeah.
It is preposterous. Over what? Over something that they claim that this entire trial is about, a charge that should have been a misdemeanor, but
Right.
they couldn't do that because the statute of limitations ran out on that 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And so they had to up the ante and say, oh, wait a minute, this is a felony now we're going to go after, so that they could actually bring this case forward. It is disgraceful and it is disgusting. And especially given the fact that you look around the city of New York, I lived there for 15 years, and it is not the same place I moved to whenever I first came to New York in 2008. This place is in shambles. Crime is running rampant. You have criminals who are just getting out scot-free. Yet this is where Alvin Bragg and his crack team at the DA's office has put their focus, their efforts, and the taxpayer money in the city of New York. It is a disgrace. But with that in mind, nothing about this trial has been fair from the beginning.
No.
Yeah, this is a get Trump at all costs effort. Of course it is. How ironic that this same judge, Judge Merchan, presided over every possible Trump case or Trump related case in the city of New York. What are the odds of that, Graham? It's impossible.
Astronomical,
Mhm.
it
Right.
would
You know
seem.
what?
Yeah.
The goal at hand is to get the number one judge who you know is going to be biased against Donald Trump, whose daughter makes money off of this trial every day and makes even more money
Mm.
if Donald Trump is convicted, where you saw the bias clear as day in the courtroom. When I
Yeah.
sat there and Todd Blanche was saying objection, he overruled every single objection on 90% of the times. When Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's defense attorney, would call out an objection, but on the other side, sustained every time the prosecution called. It is so obvious what is going on here. And the fact that you have such unprecedented waters, and you would think if you were going to bring a case against a former president, man, it better be good. Man, it better be airtight. There better be no question about anything. And yet, this case leaves people with more questions than answers. I think the jury is confused. I think that was the goal of the 6-hour summation the prosecution gave yesterday, which was
Mm.
so egregious to sit through, and so disrespectful, by the way, to the time of these jurors that have spent so much of their lives already locked up in that courtroom as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To not get to the point and finish it up, it was all about muddying the waters. It was all about bringing up things that would embarrass Donald Trump even further and trying to characterize him as a bad person in the eyes of the jury and, of course, in the eyes of the American voter. But this case has to be taken so seriously because this really is about the future of our country. If
Mm.
this case is successful in the eyes of the prosecution, if you are able to do the communist way and say, show me the man and I will show you the crime, I'll give
Right.
up anything, then forget it. What kind of country are we living in? And it is so vital that this jury takes it seriously. I said this last night on Sean Hannity's show, but I kept going back, Graham, to the words that were right above the judge. It's unbelievable, but they're still there, even in this liberal bastion of New York City and downtown Manhattan. In God we trust.
Mm.
And I think we have to pray that this jury really understands that they have to rule based on the law and not based on their feelings about Donald Trump, not based on how they want to vote, not based on how they maybe have voted in the past, but based on what is real and true and right. And if they do that, then we will get an appropriate sentencing and judgment in this case. If they do not, I really am afraid for the future of this country.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's a good point. We talked about that earlier on the show, and I think you would be remiss not to be concerned in some way because of the way that this trial has been brought. A complete fraud, a complete sham, a complete hoax. Every bit of it. The deck is stacked it is proven just the other day by Joe Biden that this is a political agenda, literally sending his cronies, Robert De Niro, and then the two Capitol police officers from the January 6th insurrection that occurred and all of these things, a complete banana republic, as you stated the other day. The last question, I really do want to get into your work in the RNC, but last question, where do we go from here? We're praying for that the jury is going to do the right thing, and that this will be just a bump in the road, and Donald Trump's polls are going to surge. They're going to surge regardless, no matter what happens, because he is winning, and that's why this is going on at the end of the day, because he is winning. Where do you see our country going from here, Laura? In your opinion, we've known each other for a long time now. We've walked through the changes in our country since 2015. Where do we go from here?
Well, I hope no matter what happens, I hope that people keep their eye on the prize, and the prize is on November 5th of this year, and that's the real determination that needs to be made by this country. The jury will be truly the American people. Yeah. And obviously, no matter what happens, it's horrific that we are in this position right now. And I think you're going to see a lot of people very upset, clearly, if there's a guilty verdict at all in this case. But I think we have to continue to focus on really, as you just said, Graham, what this is all about. And what this is all about is politics. Yeah. It's never been about doing the right thing for the people in New York. It's never been about locking up a criminal or going after justice or anything like that. It's always been about politics, because Joe Biden has incredibly low numbers across the board. You've never seen an incumbent win with the numbers as low as Joe Biden's are right now. Right. And you see him losing support in key areas. You see him losing support with young voters. You see him losing support with Hispanic voters, with Black voters. These are demographics that the Democrats have to win in order to be successful in a presidential campaign. And it's not working for Joe Biden. So I think you're right. I think Donald Trump's poll numbers go up. I think that, they've given him the platform to be able to speak to the American people every morning when he goes into that courtroom, and every day when he leaves that courtroom. And usually the networks take it live. And so in some odd ways, that coupled with the fact that he's going to Harlem to go to a bodega, he's going to deliver the FDNY firefighters pizzas. Yeah. He's interacting with construction workers. He's holding a rally, 25,000 people strong, in the deep blue Bronx of New York.
It's incredible. Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to remember. And that's what we need to continue to focus on. This is an abomination of our judicial system. And really, as I said before, a stain on America, what we're seeing happen to Donald Trump. But it doesn't mean we give up. It doesn't mean we take our eye off the prize. He will continue on, and I believe he will become the 47th president.
Well, I believe that as well, and we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to covering the debate that will happen next month. Anyway, okay, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time. President Trump needs your support now more than ever. If you've never donated to a campaign before, now is the time. Please make sure you go. Laura, where can they go to support President Trump? And then I want to get into your work at the RNC.
Thank you so much. Yeah, DonaldJTrump.com. Look, we know that the judge's daughter has been fundraising for Democrats off this trial. Well, we got to do the same thing. We've got to support this president. We've got to support the future of America and save this country. DonaldJTrump.com. And by the way, if anyone also wants to volunteer for us and be part of our election integrity team, which Graham, perhaps we're going to talk about as well, protectthevote.com. We want you on our team. We need to ensure that this is a free, fair, and transparent election, because outside of that, nothing else truly matters. We can't really call ourselves the United States of America if we do not have those things. So we want you on the team, protectthevote.com, DonaldJTrump.com to donate.
Awesome. All right. Yes, I do want to talk about all of those things. So, Lara Trump, now co-chair of the RNC here. I want to talk to you about several things, because we had so many questions come in for you about specifically the RNC. And I'm not going to read them verbatim, but I got it memorized to a good bit here.
You're good like that. Yeah.
Well, I try. And so not good like you or President Trump, but I do my best. It is not unknown that the RNC has lost a lot of faith because of previous leadership within the RNC. Can you give our listeners and can you give the audience some brief overviews of a day in the life of Laura Trump, going in there, identifying what was wrong, identifying what still needs to be fixed? What are some of the things that you've done to this point right now to bring faith back into the RNC with Republican voters?
Well, you probably noticed day one, we did a lot of staffing changes, shall we say.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
You're
that was
fired.
necessary.
Yeah.
I
Staffing
mean,
changes.
you take a page from Donald Trump a little bit, but look,
Yeah.
it's nothing different than what you would see happen in any company when you have a new CEO or somebody come in. You want to bring your own team in, you want to have people you can rely on. And that's exactly what we did day one. And then on top of that, we've gone through every vendor and every contract that the RNC had. And we want to ensure that the money is going to the highest and best use. We are not giving kickbacks to anybody's friends. We are not interested in paying more for a product than we need to. We want to pay a fair price, and that's exactly what we are planning to do and what we already have done with so many of these vendors and contracts. And on top of that, I think that the thing that is probably the most important that has happened, and I can say this, Graham, now having been through two previous and now on my third presidential election, amazing. I started this at 15, as everyone knows. I'm just kidding. Is that we never before had a full cohesion between the Trump campaign and the RNC. We always worked together and worked alongside the RNC in past campaigns, but we never were one cohesive unit. And we truly are that now. There is no daylight between the Trump campaign and the RNC. And the beauty of that is that we don't have to have multiple people doing multiple jobs. We have one person doing one job for both the campaign and the RNC. Not only does the money go farther, but we all are very focused on the mission and on what needs to happen. And because of that, we have integrated these two bodies together in such a way that anyone who maybe wasn't part of the team, if they weren't already out the door before, believe me, the Trump team people are recognizing that and letting us know every single day. So it's a work in progress. Nothing is perfect, but I think the thing that we are proudest of doing is our election integrity team. And I will be in DC tomorrow. We have a huge meeting for that. The bulk of the people employed right now in that office physically in Washington, D.C. at the RNC are part of our election integrity team because as I mentioned before, it is vital. We never can repeat 2020 again. We never will repeat it again. And we are going to ensure that this election cycle, we're going to break the old ways of doing things. We're going to start doing things like ballot harvesting. We have to encourage people to start early voting, getting people out to the polling locations as soon as you can. Get your vote banked. We want to make it too big to rig, but we're very proud of the election integrity program. It's something that the RNC has never done before, and it is vital to this election in particular this year. We can never go back to how 2020 operated.
Well, I think that's I think that's amazing. You've done more in such a short amount of time than I think that's been done in the past 6-7 years in the RNC. It is not unknown that a lot of Republican voters are wary because of what happened in 2020. The biggest thing that we hear all the time is this sense of, well, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what I vote. It's rigged. The Dems are going to rig it, blah, blah, blah. What would you say to those voters? And yes, I think it's amazing, your election integrity stuff that you're doing and things like that. But to the common person that maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense of what that means exactly. What would you say to the voter in Kansas that's wanting to cast their vote for President Trump on November 5th? What would you say to them to assure them that their vote actually does matter and it is vitally important and you do need to show up? What would you say to encourage those voters?
Well, I would say you have to vote. this election, and I know, Graham, we hear this every 4 years, but it's palpable right now.
Yeah.
What is at stake?
Yeah.
We need to save this country, and you don't do it by sitting home.
Yeah.
Freedom is only one generation away from extinction. We know we've all heard that over the decades, but it really feels very real in this moment right now. Because if we allow Joe Biden and the Democrats to win, if we just say, hey, you know what, my vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to go vote, then that's a vote for the Democrats. You might as well cast a vote for them instead. We cannot afford that. Every single vote matters. It is our duty and it is our obligation, I believe, our civic duty as citizens of the greatest country on earth, that we go vote so that we can keep the greatest country on earth. Exactly that. And so you can't sit this one out. We are putting methods and mechanisms in place right now from the RNC that will ensure that this indeed is a free and fair election. I'll give you a couple of examples, and hopefully this helps people, to feel better about going to vote. So we have never in the past at the RNC had the ability to train people to work in polling locations. There was a consent decree on the RNC, meaning we did not have that ability via a judge for 40 years to train anybody to go work in these polling locations.
What?
That judge passed away about a year ago. They lifted the consent decree, and now we can train people to work in the polling locations. You have to start doing this. Protectthevote.com. Remember, I said that website earlier. Go there if you want to be part of this team. So this isn't just poll watchers. This isn't somebody who's standing up against a wall, who's 30 feet away, who kind of gets an idea of what's going on. Absolutely not. You are there working, you're handling ballots. You are part of the team there, and you don't get a better perspective in terms of what's going on in a polling location than being a poll worker. You will be in the tabulation centers where the mail-in ballots come in. Remember how upsetting the mail-in voting was in 2020. That's why we need people on our team to do this. Michael Watley, the chairman of the RNC, and I have pledged 100,000 volunteers come election day on this team. We have, of course, gone across the country, and anywhere there was any question about any legalities, we have lawsuits out, 83 of them right now to date, out across 25 different states to make it harder to cheat and easier to vote. And those are making a huge impact. They are making a difference. When we win those lawsuits, that sets precedent across the country, Graham. So when we win one in Pennsylvania, like we recently did, we apply it to every state in the country. We're working overtime to ensure that this is a fair election. If you're an attorney and you want to volunteer, we want you. We are also going to have attorneys in all the major polling locations across the country so that we're not reactive, we're proactive. We can, in a moment's notice, in that second, address any problem, any concern, anything that looks nefarious at all. We're not waiting weeks on end. That is how we're going to have to attack this. We're going to have to play this game a little bit differently. And I can assure you, your vote counts. So my message to people is get out and vote. Go vote as early as you can. Get that vote banked. And then you spend your time from that day up to election day, taking someone with you every opportunity you have to go vote themselves. That's how we're going to win it. That's how we're going to beat the Democrats this time. And that's how we're going to save this country.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I think that's great, Laura. It is. If I may compliment you and your family for a moment.
Please. We get so much of it out there from the mainstream media, Graham. I don't know.
I'm sure you're tired of it by now, but it is amazing. And like I said, me and you do know each other, and outside of just hits, we have spoken on things. You are a real person. Your family is a real family. You guys are real people dealing with what is the most watched thing in the world right now with President Trump. And if I may compliment your entire family, you guys are handling this better than I would. Like I'd be up there flipping tables and setting things on fire. I don't know what I would be doing, but it would not be with the grace and just the humbleness that your family has handled this. And then on top of it, most people would stop their jobs, stop what they're doing and everything to focus on this, but you guys are actually still keeping your eye on the prize. You are focused on November 5th, and you are focused on not only winning the election, but you're focused on fixing the elections for the American people, not fixing them as in rigging them. No, fixing them to where people's vote matters, even if it's a vote against you. And I think that that's so amazing of your family, because unlike the other side of the aisle where it's all about, well, if you're not with us, we hate you and this and that. You guys just want the elections to be the elections of the greatest country in the world, not this banana republic, third world country, communist dictator nonsense that the Democrats want it to be. And I just think I think that you guys are an amazing family. All of you, Eric, Don Jr., President Trump himself, everyone has always been super kind to me, super down to earth with me, and you've always been friends of the show, even when I need advice on things. You've always been really cool. And,
Thank you.
And I think that's something that people don't get to know enough of about you guys. And so
that is so nice. Thank you. And by the way, can I just say, you're exactly right. This isn't about Republicans in elections. Every person out there, Republican, Democrat, Independent, should want free, fair, and transparent elections. We want America to be free. We want our elections to be free. We want people to have their freedom of speech. I will fight to my death, as people have said so many times, for your right to say something that I disagree with, because that's how important it is that we all have the ability to say these things and keep our freedoms in this country. It's vital. We were never given this country, and we should never have thought that this would be easy to hang on to. There will always be bumps in the road. It will always be hard, but we can't lay down and just say enough, we give up. We got to fight for it, and we're fighting for it in every day alongside my father-in-law in a courtroom. We're fighting for it all the way to November 5th to make sure that elections matter and are free and fair and all of those things. So thank you. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate that, Grant.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we know that you guys are extremely busy. We thank you for your time coming here. ProtectTheVote.com. Where else can they go to support or volunteer? Is it ProtectTheVote.com? Is that where they need to go?
If you want to be part of our election integrity team, ProtectTheVote.com. If you want to volunteer or donate, you can always go to DonaldJTrump.com, and we have links there as well. So we appreciate it.
All right, Laura, we're praying for you guys. We're all waiting on pins and needles, just like you guys are, I'm sure, on what's gonna go down. But no matter what it is, you know that you've got friends here at Dear America, and we appreciate you. We appreciate the family, and we got to have you back on soon.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
All right, sounds good.